Flashing the camera, getting my YouTube suspended. Hi, hi, friends. Welcome back to my channel. My name's Ashley Aireonna. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me okay. And I am joined by Steph Sanchez on this beautiful Monday. Hey, Steph, it's freaking sunny here, which is increased my serotonin by so much. It was actually not sunny until like 30 minutes ago, and it was a really sunny weekend. And I was like, wow, sunshine is so amazing for the soul. And then I woke up this morning and it was not sunny, and I was like, wow, this is why I'm sad every winter. But now it's sunny again, so I feel great. I also have this cat joining us. This is a different cat than the normal cat that I have. This one's old and kind of hates me right now because I was just shoving a towel in his eye to try to clean it out. But the 49ers have a lot of stuff going on. Has it felt like a more eventful than usual offseason to you? Or maybe I just don't always pay as much attention? I feel like
It depends.
there's something happening.
It depends how you look at it. So usually if the 49ers have like a splash signing, that'll kind of be it. Like they'll do that and then
That makes sense.
there'll be several days of like nothing because they've done lesser moves and they've done some restructures, so they've opened up some cap space. They've been able to make a lot of smaller moves, right? So I think that's kind of what we're seeing. Like Thursday, Friday last week, there were a ton of moves that they made. And so, yeah, based on how you look at it, yeah, you could say it is a little busier these days. We're getting a little bit more news.
Well, I thought that I want to start with a rumor, and then we'll start with some maybe a little bit of, I don't know, disappointing, embarrassing news that we had break today, just about an hour ago. But before that, we'll start with a rumor, which is Zac Wilson was in talks, and who knows how accurate these things are. You know, I feel like sometimes just like a reporter can throw something out there and then everyone takes a hold of it. But apparently the 49ers might be interested in trading for Zac Wilson, and apparently it would only take around a 7th round pick. Now, I do expect that whoever trades for Zac Wilson will have to give up almost nothing. I do anticipate that is probably very accurate. At this point, it looks like the Jets might have to just release him. So it definitely would make sense given up. I mean, if we look at what the 49ers got for Trey Lance, the Patriots got for Mac Jones, we can definitely, and just the Bears right now from the Steelers, like it feels like that COVID year, all those quarterbacks not going for much. And then Zac Wilson arguably has played the worst with the most opportunity to kind of show some talent out of all of these guys. So it definitely would make sense that whatever team might be interested in him could give up very little to get him. I just think that the 49ers getting him makes absolutely no sense unless we're just talking about that pre-draft. It seemed like Kyle Shanahan was very high on Zac Wilson. I know Chris Sims is, very buddy with Kyle Shanahan, and he was very high on Zac Wilson and thought that Kyle was, or maybe let on that Kyle was, even more so interested in Zac Wilson than Trey Lance. I think there was rumors that if Kyle could draft Zac Wilson above Trevor Lawrence, he would have done something like that. Stuff like that never really makes sense to me. They let Kinlaw go, and they obviously thought highly of Kinlaw before the draft. There's been time to watch this guy play. So I imagine that Kyle's stance on Zac Wilson would have changed, but the rumor is out there. So I thought I would ask you, do you think that there's any weight to a rumor like that? And would you be for it? And do you think Kyle Shanahan would be for it?
As far as like, do I think it's true? I don't know. I haven't seen anyone else really back up, that report. And that report came from Vincent Frank, who, he's been around for a while. I'm not gonna say whether I think it's true or not. I don't think that's very relevant, but it could certainly be true. And I think, yeah, if we want to talk about that, I mean, yeah, I think just based on the interest that there was, I mean, look, we just saw the 49ers have Sam Darnold. I almost already forgot his name. Sam
That's
Darnold
true.
this past season, also based on being a draft crush
Yeah, you're right
kind
about
of
that.
being almost a project for Kyle, a fun project to work on. It's like, I have a car that I like and it gets me from point A to point B, and it's done me a really good job. But I also, I have this car that, I bought, for very cheap, and I'm gonna just see what I can do with it. That's
Play with
kind of
it a
how Kyle
little.
Shanahan thinks about the quarterback
Quarterbacks, I
situation. Like,
love
he
that.
already knows he has Brock Purdy, so he doesn't really have to worry about anything there.
Yeah, like he's like, this is
And
a
they have Brandon
backup.
Allen.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. They have
yeah.
Brandon Allen as well, who I think is going to be the number 2. But if you can get someone like Zac Wilson for 1 year, kind of I don't know what the good word for it is. Repair his image, I guess you can say, for lack of a better word. I think teams would potentially maybe be interested. I mean, I didn't think anyone would be interested in Sam Darnold after he did basically nothing for the 49ers, like, aside from
I
going
don't
in
understand at
fourth
all.
quarters, I guess.
Lost
And
to the Rams, third string players, but
so, yeah, I guess that's enough to warrant getting interest. And now the 49ers, I think they can get a comp pick for Sam Darnold, right? So, yeah, why not try and, roll the dice for another quarterback like Zac Wilson? What would it hurt, right?
Can I poke some holes in this? Because I am
Please.
strongly against the 49ers bringing in Zac Wilson. First of all, he can't throw a 5-yard pass. And I think that the kind of quarterback that Kyle Shanahan likes, even though he does like these reclamation projects, I think he just wants a guy who can execute his system. And it's been shown that even with the most easy offensive plan, that Zac Wilson cannot just like distribute the ball where it needs to go. He also, even though should have some physicality and ability to be mobile, he's tended to sack himself quite a lot whenever we have seen him in games. So it's not like Purdy, who can kind of work with the offensive line that the 49ers have. So even if he's not under pressure, Zac Wilson throws a 5-yard dump off pass 20 yards down the field and to the wrong side for some reason. And then if you add in under pressure, it's even worse. So I feel like Kyle Shanahan would just get frustrated. Second of all, they did give away Trey Lance because they said that and I know bringing him up is controversial, but because they said they didn't have time for a project, and what they wanted was seemingly like a veteran style guy, where if the starting quarterback went down, you just have someone who can come in, execute a really like Kyle, Jimmy Gimme, for lack of a better word, like style offense. Like, we're not going to make this difficult. Just don't throw the ball to the other team. Don't give the game away. We're going to try to make this as easy as possible while our starter is out. Just get us through. And I feel like when you take a chance on a guy like Zac Wilson, it's much like the Trey Lance thing, where the upside of these quarterbacks is like this, star quarterback. But that's not what they're asking for. And that's not the time that they want to put into a guy like this. If you're a rebuilding franchise and you don't mind, losing or something, maybe that's fine. Also, with their backups, with a guy like Purdy, I think the reason that they re-signed Allen, I think if we're actually honest with ourselves, maybe a reason that they brought in Sam Darnold was just the guy in the room. If you go back to Sam Darnold's introductory press conference when they signed him last offseason, I think reporters asked him, because at the time Purdy was still in a sling, and reporters asked him about being the starting quarterback, and he had a very I want to come in and do my job, and if the team needs me to step in and start, I'm going to do that. But this is Purdy's team, and I'm here to empower Brock Purdy, and I'm here to help him with the game plan, help explaining things to him. I think that that's kind of what maybe Brandon Allen also brings, and I feel like that's the type of guy that they should be bringing into this this quarterback room. It should be a veteran that, can make the easy throws and that knows his place in this team. Zac Wilson, aside from physically being incapable of throwing a fucking football, has just seemingly been really disliked by all of his teammates. And it seems like one of the best parts of this 49ers team, and the reason they've been able to make it, kind of to the hump, not make it all the way over, but then still have the wherewithal to keep going and keep trying, is their belief in each other in this like brotherhood that may or may not be exaggerated in most NFL teams. It seems to be really real with the 49ers. And I feel like a guy like Zac Wilson just doesn't have that camaraderie that they should be looking for in a backup quarterback. I would go for a veteran guy. I would love if you have any people in mind, but I think a strong veteran guy, or even if they do want to look towards the draft, just a guy who, let Brian Greasy try to do his work that he did with Zac Wilson is on my mind now, with Brock Purdy. Obviously, I don't anticipate finding the next Brock Purdy, but just a guy who kind of knows his place and will embrace that backup role in the 49ers is what I would want to look for. And it just feels like Zac Wilson isn't there right now.
Yeah, but I mean, I think all you said is true. I think the 49ers already have their backup quarterback in Brandon Allen. And
but Brandon Allen can't win. Can Brandon Allen win a couple games? I think he's good at
I mean, he was Joe Burrow's backup.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, they like him, so
got rid of him, right? Who'd they replace him with? The Bengals got rid of him.
Yeah, I don't know, but he's a veteran. Like you described a veteran,
yeah.
A guy who can come in. And yeah, I mean, I think Brandon Allen fits that for the 49ers. This would now be his second year being on the team. So I think that, he would know the system, be in it for a second season. I would expect Brandon Allen to be the backup quarterback and not think twice about it. This overthinking of quarterbacks only came from the Jimmy Garoppolo era because he could never stay healthy. Like I'm really hoping that's not a thing for Brock Purdy, right? Ever since last season, it didn't matter. We were all like up in arms about Sam Darnold being on the team. It didn't matter. It ended up being so insignificant. And I would see this potential move for Zac Wilson to be along those same lines, being so insignificant. At the very least, for the 49ers, they could potentially get a comp pick back. Why not? But, I don't see it happening. But I guess I don't know, it wouldn't exactly shock me, I guess, if they did it. And I don't think it'd be that big of a deal if they did it either.
Okay, I like this. I feel like you're doing good at walking me off the ledge. Now, so you're open to Zac Wilson being on the team, but do you think that trading a late round pick for him is necessary, or do you think that the Jets are just going to cut him? And if it's not a big deal to have Brandon Allen as the backup, wouldn't it just be better for the 49ers to be like, we're not going to put resources into this. If he gets let go, then yeah, we'll look into just, signing him, but trading for him,
trading for him, I think would be a bit much unless they did view him as more of a backup or wanting to be a backup or bring him in as competition, right? And because he was drafted pretty high, I mean, his contract would be pretty comparable to that of Trey Lance's, right? It'd probably be a little bit more. So yeah, financially it wouldn't make sense from the trade standpoint. But if he were to be released, I mean, yeah, why not?
Okay. So Steph and I are on different sides. I'm kind of like a hard no, but I like you walking me off the
it's
ledge.
not that I don't care for it. It's not like I'm asking for them to sign him,
I just feel like they might have a better chance at finding a long-term backup if they do look in the draft, potentially.
And if they brought in Zac Wilson, that would not keep them from bringing in a quarterback in the draft, I don't think, or in a drafted free agent.
Oh, you think? Would they have them compete?
It's not odd for them to go into camp with 4 quarterbacks.
Okay, that's true.
And
That's
then
probably
you just you kind
that
of
might
just
be
cut
interesting
'em
because
from
then it's
there.
kind of like the best guy. The best guy will just take the job, which would also make. I mean, I started this by saying there's never a lack of things to talk about. See, Steph is just in it for the topics. She's like, Ashley, come on. Come on. You know, I'm gonna be arguing with Rob about freaking Zac Wilson um
Yeah.
all off season if you let me.
I
I
mean,
think that
Rob
was
can argue about a lot of things.
there we go. There we go. Okay, well, one more I don't know, drama-y topic, but I seem to remember was it an article or a quote by Parag where he called this current iteration of the 49ers he praised their business acclimate. I don't know how to speak. He praised what the 49ers have been able to do with their business, and he referred to the Bill Walsh era as a lemonade stand and said that they were able to turn it around, which in general was an insane statement to make. But it's even more insane when now it's came out from I saw this on Matt Mayoko's Twitter, and then Matt Barrows did a little bit of a breakdown and I was going through his tweets about it. But the 49ers are getting their 5th round pick taken away next year in their 4th. Is that correct? It's their 5th round next year and their 4th round this year? Or it might be
Their 4th round is not getting taken away, but it's getting what it was before, which I think was like, I don't remember the exact number, but now it's going to the end of the 4th round, like
So it's getting
after
pushed
all
back.
of the comp picks. Like, so yeah, it's getting pushed back, and then yeah, next year's 5th, they lost.
So they are getting punished because in 2022 they had financial errors and errors reporting their finances to the league office, which I think is mostly just embarrassing. Now they did come out with a statement on the like official 49ers website that said, you know, they was nothing that they were trying to, you know, get a competitive advantage. They didn't do anything with those resources that would have given them some sort of like step above other teams. It was more just an accidental error, which I don't know. I imagine, I guess that's like better, you know what I mean? Because it's good to not like purposely try to be deceitful, but at the same time, it's almost like, well, if you're gonna make such a mistake and then get punished for it, at least like have it be, you know, the Patriots made a lot of mistakes, but at least they got some Super Bowls out of it. Like the 49ers are like, oh, we are getting in trouble, and we also didn't take advantage of this and get any sort of step ahead. Do you know exactly what's going on with the 49ers front office? And by the way, for anyone who thinks that this is something that's going on this offseason or last season, it's actually from 2022. So a bit behind that they're getting punished for it. But in that 2022 season, it looks like they did some financial reporting wrong and maybe misled the NFL when they were, turning in all their financial resources.
It's like the IRS, you know, like, you know, sometimes you're going to get audited and, you know, they might find something that's just not right. No, I mean, I don't know
that I talked about
anything.
how I never did my
Oh my God, yes.
You
You should probably get on that.
Since then I've done them. I just like didn't do it for a long time.
That's good because yeah, we don't want SWAT.
But now we're
team
looking
running
from
through
the
your door.
49ers. I'm learning that apparently they can go back in the past and figure these things out. I don't know what to do about it now. I'm just crossing my fingers.
Okay, so honestly, I don't know anything about the details aside from what was reported about, you know, what really went wrong. But I mean, by all accounts, it just seems like the 49ers weren't trying to circumvent anything. They weren't trying to, you know, finagle the system or anything like that. You know, it was just they did something wrong. If I had to guess, someone probably got fired for it, you know. I don't know, but
is this like on Parag or it's like a lower level thing, you assume?
I mean, I'm sure their accounting team is vast, and you know, Parag probably is not like the numbers pusher as far as like actually putting in numbers into the system or whatever platform they use to submit all that, you know. So I'm sure there's someone underneath. But I don't want to speculate. I mean, I don't know. Yeah,
for anyone,
that'd be my
really
guess.
quick, For anyone who doesn't have Twitter, the statement that the 49ers put out themselves was very small. It just says, "We take responsibility and accept the imposed discipline from the NFL due to a payroll error. At no time did we mislead or otherwise deceive the league or gain a competitive advantage in connection with the payroll mistake." So it sounds like more just like maybe they accidentally wrote down a number wrong or something, which, like I'm saying, is bad, but also it's like, I don't know, if you're gonna do that, maybe you should get an advantage. You know what I mean? If you're gonna evade taxes, you might as well like what was the thing that everyone did during the pandemic? Like not everyone, but like I don't know. I remember people said like rappers and stuff did this. They like took out a bunch of money and like traveled and stuff, and we're like, why is everyone in Tulum? Never mind. I don't know why I know about that, but yeah. Anyways, also going on with the 49ers, I thought I would talk to you. I know you have to go grab something in a minute, but I wanted to ask you, the 49ers this year on the books, they have hella cap space, and apparently this is all by the book and in line with what they should be doing. But they've made a lot of moves to open up a lot of cap space. They've done some restructures. I actually don't even think we've talked since they restructured guys like Hargrave and Kittle. I was originally just going to ask you, what do you think they're opening up all this cap space for? Is there another big move that's going on, or do you think it was just, I know they needed cap space to just sign their draft picks and make the even smaller moves in free agency. So I was kind of going to ask you what you thought their next move should be with this extra cap space. But maybe before even answering that question, I could just ask you if you wanted, since you and I haven't talked about it, to reflect. Were you pro making those restructures with the veterans that they did, or did you have any hesitations about that?
The Hargrave one is interesting, right? Because, this past season, you can argue that given how much he got, he maybe underperformed a little bit. So, I mean, yeah, the 49ers are banking that he's going to be a guy who they want for, the next few seasons. So, yeah, I mean, as long as that falls into place, I think they'll be all right. But yeah, I think you do need money, not just for flexibility of wanting to make moves. You definitely don't want to feel like you're strapped down to, not be able to do anything. So I think it's smart to just open it up and see what they can do, especially before the draft. And yeah, you mentioned they do also need to make room by the draft as well for signing those picks. Not a whole lot is needed for that. But also, like, you want some money potentially to even roll into the season, right? So you can go into the season and have some flexibility in what you want to do. Maybe even a mid-season trade, right?
They
for
usually
someone.
do that, whether
Exactly,
big or
so
small. They usually, because
right.
it helps protect you in case you suffer an injury. Like, I think a lot of
Yeah.
times when people think of the mid-season, they think of the big like Christian McCaffrey type trade, but it actually just, if you have a corner that gets injured and you don't have, now maybe your backup is playing, so you just need to bring someone in for third string. Like, just having a little bit of resources can come in handy as a safety net for sure.
Yeah, so I think it's smart, and I don't think it necessarily means a move for right now always. I think having it on the side for later and having that option is nice too. So I would expect some to roll into the season, and if not, roll it into next year.
I very much agree. Now, I wanted to ask you. Now, I really quick. I've already given this opinion.
Wait.
Oh, are you gonna?
The 49ers just signed Josh Dobbs.
Oh,
That's
hell
actually
yeah!
that's
Oh, I
actually
like that.
so
I like that.
we were just talking
I
about,
feel
right?
like I was kind of saying like a guy like that. Ooh, I like that. I
That's
like that.
actually that's not bad, right? It's not bad.
Mhm.
Veteran,
He's the neuroscientist guy who did good
astronaut.
for a second. Yeah. He
So
and he
he's
did really good with the Vikings for a few games. I know that he kind of came crashing down because there was a lot of hype about him, and then it kind of went opposite. But I feel like that's like him, like a Minshew, like those guys are like, in my opinion, that's the perfect even my dad has talked about this a lot, and I know he's on a different team now, and I don't mean to bring him up because I think it's kind of buzzwordy, but even like a Jimmy Garoppolo, like these guys are like wonderful guys who maybe can't stay healthy or can't keep up good play consistently, but you know that you can rely on them to understand the game, understand what they're going to be asked to do, and perform from anywhere from like 1 to 3 games. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not anticipating always having like the everyone wants, everyone's like, well, Brock Purdy was the 3rd string and came in and took you to the Super Bowl. And you're like, the reason that was a big deal is because that was a big deal was because that never happens in the NFL. I think Steph is getting some food. She told me she ordered it. But I'm gonna add a little banner, Josh Dobbs. But I'm excited about this move. I feel like he did really well with the Vikings last year.
Yeah, I'm like, so literally as we're going live, like I was doing a thumbnail for Zac Wilson, and now I got to do a new thumbnail for Josh Dobbs.
There we go. I know. Look at everyone. They were trying to psych us out with that.
But yeah, I'm with you. I like the move. I mean, obviously he's a very smart guy. It's interesting, right? Because he's had like a crazy Linsanity run in every team he was with last season. He was with the Browns first. Then he, obviously that wasn't going to work out because they have Deshaun Watson.
Everyone was crushing the Browns because he ended up doing so well with the Vikings. People were like, "Oh, you idiots! Like, what did you do?"
Well, then he went to the Cardinals. Remember? So he played with the Cardinals. He did a pretty decent job.
Yeah. I remember.
He played against the Niners. He had a pretty good game. And Kyle loves to sign guys with the 49ers
who do well against him, right?
Always. So it's so funny. But yeah, I mean, I think they feel like they can do something with him. Again, he's going to be a backup, or he's going to compete for the backup position. Poor Brandon Allen, like he's probably we'll see what happens. If Josh Dobbs looks good, maybe you could even trade him, before the cut down to 53. I don't know where they keep 3, right? Because I think the 49ers kept 3 guys during the season. You remember, they put in the rule of the emergency quarterback. So having a 3rd guy, I think, is probably good. They want to do that. So yeah, this is a solid quarterback room.
He'd also be a great guy. Like, I'm sure he wants to be a starter, so maybe this isn't a thing that can happen. But if you could lock down a guy like that for like just to have him as your backup quarterback for multiple years to come, why isn't that happen for a team? Why hasn't he just stayed? Is it because he wants to be a starter, so he probably tries to keep going places? But yeah, right now it's just he's signed a one year veteran deal. But I mean, I think a guy like him is like, to me, that's such a prototype of what you want in your backup quarterback. Really smart dude, a dude who seems really personable, that guys like. He does well in the locker room. Doesn't, maybe he wants to be a starter, but doesn't have that attitude of like, I'm going to come in here, trying to steal your job or anything like that. Feels like he'll be very respectful. I love that move for the 49ers. And if something that, knock on so much wood, you don't want this to happen. But if Brock Purdy gets injured just for, a small amount of time, I imagine that Kyle Shanahan feels confident that he could coach a guy like Josh Dobbs, and with the great, players around him, that the 49ers could squeak out a couple games.
Yeah, I think it's a solid backup move. I like it a lot.
I like it a lot too. Okay, that's exciting. And people are saying, rather have Dobbs than Zac Wilson's. I see Dobbs has, zero draft capital, so that's good. I agree with that. I want QBs who have some upside in the right environment. 49ers media wanted Zac Wilson. Kind of interesting with that one. I didn't, but Bundy agrees with me though. He would rather have Dobbs. Neuro astronaut, which was a good take on me not knowing exactly what he did. And then really quickly, I wanted to address this one. I'm Italian. This isn't my fault. I have to talk with my hands. It's in my genetics. You guys should see my dad. I'm also always screaming. I think it's because I'm deaf in one ear, so I like literally can't hear myself. My friend, I wonder if she's watching, but I've been on and off at her house for quite some time. She actually got me headphones, and she said, or not headphones, but what is it, like when you can hear louder, better? Like old people have them?
Hearing it?
She got me hearing aid. It looks just
Why?
like because I'm literally deaf in one ear. And she said I talk quieter with it because like I don't realize that I'm screaming all the time. But I also think I just always scream. Like my dad's natural chatting, like we're just Italian, so his natural chatting is screaming, which is really funny because if we're having any sort of normal conversation, I never realize it. I'm like, oh, this is just how my dad talks. But if I feel like he's angry at me, I'm like, you're screaming. He's like, this is just my voice. I'm like, no, you don't love me. So that was a little TMI for you guys. My dad's also sick right now, so everyone should say prayers for him. I called him today and he sounded like he was dying. But anyway, he's not actually. Right. That was a bit dramatic. He sounded like that. Like I'm just saying, he's always screaming. He was actually very like soft spoken. So, then no, anyone who's a QB working for that number spot is gonna do whatever it takes to get that spot. I like that there would be competition in that QB room. I feel like 49er fans are a little bit too obsessed with like QB controversy and competition. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I think
we're just so used to that now. It's toxic.
I think the 49ers were right to kind of trade Trey Lance away and like have a guy and stick with him and empower him. I think that uniting a team around one guy is really important and has actually shown to be really fruitful for the organization. And this isn't even a Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch thing. This is like Steve Young and Joe Montana freaking 49er fans thing. So I'm not mad at anyone for saying that. And then I think Nathan might have just joined. He said the 49ers have signed QB Josh Dobbs. Whoop, whoop. Nathan, if you go back like 10 minutes, we gave our whole reaction to this. But moral of the story is we had just described what we thought a perfect backup quarterback was, and then he was announced and he fit that description.
we spoke him into existence.
They did it for us. The front office was tuning into our stream, and then we're like, all right, we'll give him this. So, but thank you so much for joining us and letting us know. Okay, so we talked about that. We were in the middle of talking. I think I said any moves that I thought the 49ers should be making. Now, I don't think that Josh Dobbs is taking up all the salary cap room that they did move. Do you think that they also, by the way, today added the former Raiders O-lineman name that I'm blanking on right now?
Brandon Parker.
Brandon Parker. Do you have anything to say about him? Is he going to be more of a backup role position? I'm assuming they're still going draft for O-line.
I would assume that's going to be nothing more than a camp body, but a camp body potentially with upside. And I only say upside because, he's pretty young. He's 28. He's 6'8". He's massive. So 320 pounds as well. And so the 49ers are just going to take a flyer, see if they can do anything with him, see if he can, I don't know, be the next John Feliciano. I don't know. He's a tackle though. So that's good because the 49ers could use more of those. Right. I think it'll just be competition in a body.
Right side?
Right side. He has experience with both. But probably will go into the right side.
But good to have a guy who's played both for the for depth. I want to say I've actually been supportive of the 49ers kind of going towards rebuilding. I think I called it in a previous stream like the middle class of their team. I think last year they were really focused on, they had a really big star-studded team. And if we look to the year prior when they had the Ebukam, the Amenihu, like especially when I'm thinking about defense because I'm thinking about the free agents that they've signed. But even with this guy who seems like maybe more of a backup role, I think it's really smart for the 49ers to invest in that depth for when the starters are, do unfortunately suffer suffer an injury. Football is a violent sport, and that stuff happens. So I think having quality depth is very important, and we might have noticed the lack of that last year when there was so much focus on the stars. So that's a little bit of a side note, but I feel like there's been a little bit of criticism about there not being that big signing. And I'm not saying that I don't, I think all fans, I'd be really excited if they made a big giant splash, but I'm not terribly mad with the focus going towards kind of just solidifying some of these groups that maybe didn't have that depth. But if they were to make a cap move, I would love it if they wanted to sign. To be honest, I'm a little bit, I wish that they could have added to that linebacker core a little bit more. How do you feel about the Packers linebacker that they added? Campbell?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously that wasn't their first choice. Eric Kendricks was their first choice. So look, I mean, I'm gonna wait and see how that one goes because everyone looks at the 2021 All-Pro season and then everyone looks at the fact that he kind of fell off after that. Now, he says that he was badly used. Like they didn't use him right in Green Bay.
He had his all-pro year with the same, because when he first said that, I was like, oh, that makes sense. I watched Tom Grossi. I know that Joe Barry sucks. That's kind of a joke. But then I looked at the year he was all-pro and it was the same freaking coach. So I was like, well, how did they start using you differently with the same coach? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but
I will say we should trust 49ers with linebacker. Like we said, it's a theme of the 49ers to need their backup quarterback controversy. It's a theme of the 49ers to have really freaking solid linebackers. So maybe being worried about them is silly, and I should just trust that they're going to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think we gotta. This is a bridge linebacker situation, right? Like he's going to be in the Dre Greenlaw role as long as Dre Greenlaw is out. And when Dre Greenlaw's back, and not just back, and playing, but like back to his form, right? Which sometimes it takes a long time to get back that explosiveness. I think then Campbell could then be maybe the third linebacker. Not sure, but yeah, I mean, this is just a move that they needed to make for the short term since Dre Greenlaw's status is unclear. And so he has experience. We'll look to see how he does with the 49ers system and with, better coaching and better use of him, right? And we'll see how that turns out.
Okay, I like that. My main thing that I hope that they're focusing on from here on out is that offensive line. But I always assumed they were going to go draft just for the offensive line, just by the way that people were talking. Do you see? I know that they signed that more depth piece in. And by the way, I think someone was asking about that in the comments. But the former Raiders, now 49ers. What was his name again? I just blanked on it. Branch.
Oh, Brandon Parker.
Yes, Brandon Parker. But I'm hoping that they're gonna go more offense in the draft. Are you assuming that they're gonna make any sort of big move? I know Mike Silver for a little while was maybe teasing 49er fans, saying that there was a big move coming. Are you anticipating any big moves in free agency, or do you think that the 49ers are winding down with that?
I think they're winding down. I think they're getting, setting themselves up for the draft. And so I think the moves they've made so far are solidly putting them in position for that. So, yeah, I think we'll probably see some smaller moves take place in, the next couple weeks or next month, before the draft takes place. And then also they'll probably make some moves after the draft as well, because there's going to be some guys who maybe get cut after some teams draft
fill their need their
replacement, or like, there's things that happen. So we'll get some smaller signings. I do expect like a veteran safety, for example, to get signed. Maybe like another corner.
Yeah, how do you feel about the was Mike Silver was like, oh, the 49ers might not want to start Hufanga when he comes back. I feel like sometimes when reporters say things like this, though, they leave it so ambiguous on purpose, because it couldn't the same thing be said for Dre Greenlaw, where it's like, okay, do you mean this in a they're not confident about his play pre-injury, or he just might not start because like he just suffered a giant injury, so maybe he won't be ready. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of times reports like this, they leave it like, ooh, like the 49ers could be unsatisfied, and it's like, okay, well, like, is this an injury thing and this guy is going to come back as a starter, or were they like feeling concerned about his level of play prior to that and they are looking to replace him because injury or not, they were unsatisfied? You know what I mean? How do you feel about Hufanga's role, and do you think it's like a guarantee for him to step back into that role once fully healthy?
Well, I think like, yeah, it's probably more so the concern about, is he going to be the same guy when he comes back? Because those injuries, like, sometimes it takes guys to come back into form. They can start playing again, but they're not always playing with the same explosiveness that they had before. So Hufanga wasn't like athletically, he's not the most athletic guy. Like what sets him apart is
he's already a little slow, but it was his tackling, right?
Yeah, it's his aggressiveness. He has quick instincts. And so that I think helps him elevate his game. But if he already wasn't very athletic and then now this injury might put him back even further, like I get it. Like I think the 49ers want to insulate themselves potentially. Again, I don't expect them to go out and get like a Justin Simmons, or a Quandre Diggs. Could they? Maybe, yeah, like those guys are still available, but like I think it's much more likely to bring back a veteran. And I was just on the Trace with Tracy Sandler. It's gonna come out tomorrow, but basically what I said, I was like, I wouldn't even be surprised if Deshaun Gibson comes back, right? Deshaun Gibson comes back for one more season. Just be that bridge guy maybe until Hufanga comes back. And maybe they can even use him after that. Who knows? I think that would be welcomed by both sides as long as he still wants to play. And as long
that's
as
kind of what happened last year, right? Like they were kind of assuming that he wasn't going to want to, and he was like, "Oh, I'll come back for another year." And the 49ers were like, "Great."
Yeah, so that's just another example. He's probably just waiting to see like what happens. And maybe the Niners are kind of waiting to see like what happens with the draft, all that. But I still think that'd be on the table.
I love that. Okay. Well, I do know that you have a show coming up, so I want to let you get going pretty soon. I did really quickly want to answer. I saw Isaiah Sports Coverage asked in our chat, is Zac Wilson actually coming in the 49ers? No, the 49ers just signed Josh Dobbs. I doubt that they're going to then go out and trade for Zac Wilson. Even if he gets cut, I feel like it's redundant to bring a guy like him in. Steph and I did talk about how it's possible that they still, draft a quarterback just because they have one doesn't mean lack of competition. They do normally go into camp with a couple. A lot of times they just need what do they call it, like camp arms, right? Just to make sure that all of the other positions are being able to get the ball thrown to them and everything. But I don't think that they would use resources. Usually they get guys that they can just kind of have walk on do that. But that was definitely talked about a little bit earlier in our stream, so you can go back and watch that. Everyone, please make sure to like and subscribe to Steph's YouTube channel if you're not already here from there. Kenny, yes, the 49ers did get Josh Dobbs. We just talked about that. Both of our instant reactions were that we were very happy about that. We had spoken it into existence, kind of talked about what we thought the 49ers the backup quarterback would best be suited for the 49ers. I said, veteran, someone who's very intelligent, a kind of guy's guy, not going to come in and try to, upseat the starter. We're both very happy about the addition of that backup quarterback. Think that Kyle Shanahan probably feels good about how he played against the 49ers and feels like if it came to it that he could coach him up and they could win some games with him. So please make sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Ashley Aireonna. If I hide this comment, I think it comes up. So make sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll be on again tomorrow. And then make sure to like and subscribe to Steph's YouTube channel. I know that she is going to be going on at 4. And Kenny, we both agree, better than Zac Wilson. So some people might be confused because I titled this like, is Zac Wilson coming to the 49ers? And then in the middle of the stream, we got our question answered. So don't worry. We spoke it into existence for you guys. No Zac Wilson. But everyone, I hope you guys have a great Monday. If it's sunny where you are, try to enjoy it before the sun goes down. But yeah, thanks so much for joining me, Steph. Had a good Monday. I like how I started this show like, oh, there's always news, and then there was breaking news during the show.
Always news. Never a dull
don't
moment
forget,
with this team.
49ers, if you do need another camp arm just to show off, we were talking about, these guys. I'm just saying, I do a stream on Tuesday, guys, with Jose, who was making fun of my gym games. But if you see, just saying, that's a little shoulder right there. Sometimes when I'm doing those, what are they? They're for like you're right here, but I always feel them in my traps. I do them wrong, but anyways, I'll sign out. But you guys have a good one. Make sure if you're doing shoulders that you don't use your traps like